Alright guys, so this is the layout that we have created in our last video. We made this layout responsive as well as adaptive. That means we have a fully functional responsive web page here. And if you look at our code here, we will see we made each and everything flexible. That means we have a flexible container here, and all the columns that we have created are flexible columns also. The only things which are not flexible, that whatever the things we are applying in pixel is an absolute unit. That means whatever the value we are applying in pixel, that will always remain same for the smaller devices also and for the larger device also. For example, this padding 80 pixel will remain always same for each and every device. Similarly goes for this padding as well as this font size or whatever the things we are applying in pixel. So we need to make these pixel things also flexible. So here, first of all, let's discuss about the responsive lengths. There are various responsive lengths and there are various absolute lengths also. We have already discussed absolute lengths like pixel. Now let's discuss about the responsive lengths. Responsive lengths are VW, VH, EM, REM, etc. There are a lot of responsive lengths. So the very first responsive length we are going to discuss is that we have a percentage. Percentage is a responsive length or responsive unit which is relative to the parent element. We have already discussed about the percentage, that how we work with the percentage, how we make column in percentage, or how we work with the percentage unit. So we will not waste our time to discuss the percentage unit once again. We will directly move into the VW and VH. VW is known as viewport width and VH is known as viewport height. VW is relative to 1% of the width of the viewport and VH is relative to 1% of the height of the viewport. So what is viewport? I think I have already mentioned what is viewport, but we will discuss this thing again. So here we have a page. So whatever the screen size we see here from left to right here and from top to bottom here. So this is known as viewport width and this is known as viewport height. To apply viewport width we use VW unit, and to apply viewport height we apply VH unit. Now let's see how we apply viewport width and viewport height practically. So the very first thing, we will get rid of all the content on our page here. Let's comment it out, save this, then give it a refresh. Okay, we don't have anything. Now let's have a element inside our body. We'll say div. To the div, let's apply a class of something box. All right, to the box right now at the bottom, say here responsive length. Here let's target our box. Say whatever the screen sizes this box will be open, the box will be always taking the viewport width from here left to right as well as from top to bottom. So let's do that. Say width and say height of 100 VH. Yeah, and we need to apply some background color also so that we can see that box. Say secondary, save this. Let's have a look here, give it a refresh. Okay, here we have a box. Now we can see here that as we have applied viewport width, that is 100 VW, it is covering the whole viewport, and similarly we have applied viewport height, that's why it is covering whole viewport height from top to bottom. All right, okay, so this is how we work with the viewport width and viewport height. So when we open this page or we open this layout in any screen sizes, it can, if you open this in on mobile or any tablet or any devices, even on the larger device also, it will try to cover the whole viewport, and the viewport size always depends upon the screen sizes. So here we have a viewport from left to right width, and here we have viewport height from top to bottom. We can also do something here, say 50 BW, not 500, just 50. Save this, give it a refresh. Okay, now it is taking 50%, that means 50% of the viewport, that is 50 VW, and similar goes to the viewport height, that is 50 vh. Any value they can apply. We can say 30 here, let it remain 50, give it a refresh. Now it is taking 30 vh. Here let's say 30 again, give it a refresh. Now it is taking 30 vw. Get back to 100 vw. Nice, save this, give it a refresh. So this is how viewport width and viewport height works. After the viewport width and height, we have another unit, that is EM and REM. EM, which is related to the font size of the element. That means what the font size we will be applying to an element, this EM unit will be calculated from that font size. And another unit we have REM. REM is related to the font size of the root element. We will discuss this root element and the element font size. So we will discuss first EM unit. Let's see how we work with the EM unit. The very first thing here, we have a box here. We'll get rid of this 100 VW and 100 VH. We got the idea how VW and VH unit works. Give it a refresh. Okay, nothing, no height, no width. Now let's apply font size to the box. Say 16 pixel. Yeah, not 26. Say 16 pixel. Oops, yeah. Now we want to apply anything. What were the things we want to apply to the box? Say width or height in EM unit. EM is element, so EM unit is relative to the font size of the element. So this is the font size we have applied to this element. Now let's apply width of this box. Say 5 EM and height something. Height also let's say 5 EM. Save this, then give it a refresh. Here we have that box. Let's increase the size a bit more. Let's say 20 EM and here also 20 EM. Save this, then give it a refresh. Okay, here we have that box. Now from where this EM is getting calculated? So this 1 EM is equal to 16 pixel. So 1 EM is getting calculated from the font size of the box or of the element that we have applied. This is how EM works. EM will always look for the font size that we have applied on the element. So right now we have applied the font size of 16 pixel. So the width of this EM of this box will be 16 into 20 EM, and similarly height also 16 into 20 EM. That's the 1 EM is equal to 16 pixel. Now if we inspect here, we will find that width and height of this box would be, say, computed 320. That means 16 into 20 pixel, 16 into 20 pixel. This. Now if we increase this font size, say 24 pixel, give it a refresh. Yeah, now this is 480. That's the EM unit here we have applied. Now 1 EM is equal to 24 pixel. 24 into 20, that becomes 480 pixel, and height also 480 pixel. That's what we have here. That's how EM unit works. EM unit will always look for the font size that have been applied to the element. Now suppose that's the basic concept about the EM unit. Now suppose if the element is not having font size, say here, just get rid of this font size, save this, give it a refresh. How much it is taking? That is 320. So from where this EM is getting calculated? Okay, so the EM will look for the font size that we have applied to the element, but right now here we don't have any font size. That means this EM will look for the font size that have been applied to its parent, to the box parent, that is body. To the body we have whatever the font size we have applied, then this EM will get calculated from the font size to its parent. So look for the body here. So to the body here at the top would be body. Here we have body, and to the body we haven't applied any font size. Now again this box didn't find the font size that have been applied to the body. Now it will look for the font size to the parent, to the grandparent, or to the foreparent of this body also. So now it will go to the parent of HTML. and on the HTML also we haven't applied any font size yet. So by default browser's font size is 16 pixel, so that's why this 16 pixel is working as a relative to this em. So this will get calculated from the 16 pixel. Okay, right now we haven't applied any font size to any element, so now let's apply font size to the body again here only. So for the body, let's say font size 30 pixel. So the parent of this box is body. So and the body is having font size of 30 pixel. That means one em will be equal to 30 pixel because the box does not have any font size. Now save this, have a look here. Okay, yeah, 30 into 20, it becomes 600 pixel, 600 pixel. Similarly, we can also apply, we can take any not here, div, and we will keep this div inside this box, and here let's say class parent. Save this, give it a refresh. So now the box will look for the font size of the parent, but parent is not having font size, so the parent will be inheriting font size from the body. That's a 30 pixel. So if we apply here to the parent font size, say 40 pixel, give it a refresh. Okay, here we have to the box, that's 800, that's a 40 into 20. Okay, so this is how em unit works. Sometimes it can also happen that here, let's say to the parent we have applied the font size again in em, say 2 em. Okay, so first of all this font size will get calculated from its parent, that is body. So that means for this 1 em will be equal to, so the parent font size is 60 pixel. Now to the box we have applied width of 20 em and height of 20 em. So now for this box 1 em will be equal to 60 pixel, just because the font size of this parent is 60 pixel, that is 2 em into 30 pixel. So now the width and height of this box will be 60 into 20, 60 into 20. Have a look here. So it would be 1200 pixel. Yeah, here you can see this box is having 1200 pixel. So this is how em works. The very first thing, em will look for the font size that have been applied to the element, and if the font size has not been applied to the element, then it will look for the font size to its parent, and so on. Alright, at the beginning the em unit looks somewhat complicated, but it becomes easy as we practice. Now after this em unit, let's talk about the rem unit. Rem unit is relative to the font size of the root element. That means the em unit was looking for the font size of the element, but rem unit will look for the font size that has been applied to the root element. And what is the root element here? The root element is the HTML. As at the beginning only, at the beginning of in the introduction to HTML and CSS topic, we have discussed HTML is also known as root element. So the rem unit will look for the font size that have been applied to the HTML element. So here first of all let's get rid of these all things, save this, give it a refresh. Okay, nice. Now we are going to apply the unit in rem. So for the box, let's say width of say 10 rem and height of 10 rem. Okay, save this, and we'll apply the background color also, secondary, give it a refresh. Here we have that box. Okay, now how this rem is working. So the rem is taking the reference from the font size that has been applied to the HTML. As we know, to the HTML we haven't applied any font size, so that's a browser default font size. That means that's a 16 pixel. So one rem is equal to 16 pixel now. So let's give it a, let's inspect it, and here we have 160 into 160. That means one rem is 16 pixel, so 16 into 10, it becomes 160, 160. Okay, so now let's increase the font size of HTML, say 20 pixel. Give it a refresh. Okay, now this rem will look for the font size that has been applied to the root element, which is 20 pixel. So 20 into 10, it becomes 200. So that's a 200 pixel. So the rem is somewhat easy. It will always look for the font size that has been applied to the HTML element, not for the parent, not for the grandparent. That's how the rem works. So here we can say anything, say 30 pixel this time, and here let's increase, say 20 rem, 20 rem. So it becomes 30 into 20. Now 1 rem is equal to 30 pixel. It becomes 600 pixel. Give it a refresh. Nice, 600 into 600. Okay, and thereafter, after the em and rem, there are other responsive lengths also. For example, ch is relative to width of the 0. We have ex is relative to the x height of the current font. Thereafter we have vmin, vmax. Vmin is relative to the 1% of the viewport smaller dimension. For example, this is the viewport height, sorry, this is the viewport height and this is the viewport width. So among the viewport height and viewport width, which will be the smaller, that value will be applied for the vmin, and similarly goes to the vmax. So these are the like other responsive unit that we rarely use, but feel free to like explore all of these unit which you may need in future. All right, so these are the responsive lands. Now we will make our layout that earlier we have made. So let's get rid of this here, and here we'll say, let's open this, let's get it back, save this, and we'll get rid of this also. Give it a refresh. Okay, yeah, so this is our page or layout that we have created in our last video. Now we will replace all the pixel unit in rem, so that there will be only one source of truth, that is root element, and whatever the font size we will be applying to the root element, that rem will get calculated from there. So here at the top, very first thing, before body only, let's say html, we'll say font size of 16 pixel. Yep, now we will be applying padding, say, so one rem is equal to now 16 pixel. HTML is having font size 16 pixel, that is root element is having font size 16 pixel, and rem depends upon the font size of the root element. So here we have 32 pixel, we can say 2 rem. Similar goes to, anyway, here we can say 5 rem. Save this, and similarly here we'll say 1 rem. Here we'll say how much, so it becomes 2.2 rem, somewhat on nearby. Here we'll say 2 rem. Here we'll say 1.4 rem. We are replacing each and everything that we have applied in pixel. Similar goes for the heading, we'll say 2 say 2 rem, 1.4 rem, 0.75 rem, and this would be 2 rem. Here again 1.3 rem, 1.5 rem, Alright, so these are the things which we have applied in pixel and we replaced with the with rem unit. Yeah, now save this, have a look here. There are not much changes, there are just a few changes. Is that like there is few variation in the font size or even the padding and margin, because we haven't calculated as exactly from the pixel to rem, but we have taken the values nearby, so that's why you may find few changes here. Now if you go from top to bottom, everything looking fine. All right, now what is the benefit of applying this font size in rem? The benefit we will see now. Say for the smaller devices, obviously we want smaller font size or smaller padding, a smaller margin. So for the smaller devices, which is starting from the 768 pixel, we can do here. So at the top we have applied the HTML font size 16 pixel. For the larger devices now, font size is 16 pixel, that means one rem is 16 pixel. Now we can change the root element font size only here. For the HTML, we'll say font size say 10 pixel. That means now for the smaller devices, one rem will be 10 pixel. So we don't have to apply again here. For this padding, we don't need to apply. Automatically it will get calculated for the smaller devices. For the larger devices, here we have applied padding 5 rem, that means 80 pixel. But for the smaller devices, here padding will be 5 rem only, but 5 rem will be get calculated from this font size, that is 10 pixel. That means that would be 5 into 10, 50 pixel. Yeah, and similarly we don't have to apply font size. This will also get calculated automatically from here, so we don't have to apply here. So this will save our time. Save these. Now have a look, give it a refresh. Let's check out on smaller devices, say Moto G4. We can see everything is looking nice. Automatically the font size decreased and padding margin has also decreased. Okay, and here also obviously let's say here, so at the top we haven't applied any margin top and bottom to this flex 48 or flex 30, but here we can say 1 rem. We have applied 16 pixel now, so now this 16 pixel would be 1.5 rem. Yeah, with a refresh. Yep, that's nice. All right, so this is how you should be taking approach for applying padding or margin or font size instead of applying in pixel. Apply the things, apply the font size or padding or margin in rem, and you can change the rem values. That means you can change the font size of html. Here we have applied for the larger devices, and wherever you need to apply smaller font size, that for the smaller devices you can apply here. And similarly for the Mac, for 992 pixel or for medium devices, here we can say font size of html 12 pixel. For the larger devices, root element is having font size of 16 pixel. For this medium devices, we are having font size of 12 pixel, and for the smaller devices we are having font size of 10 pixel, from where the rem will get calculated. Save this, give it a refresh. This is our smaller devices. Pad Pro would be a medium device, and by default we have a large device. Perfect.